Boom! Welcome to another episode of The Dragon's Pit. I am Zonix Gaming. I am a variety streamer over on twitch.tv /Zonix Gaming. I stream 7 days a week. I very rarely ever miss a day. This is a new segment at The Dragon's Pit. We're titling this Keeping It 100. This is going to be a controversial video. I can see a lot of people probably will not like what I'm going to say. But I feel I'm doing everybody a disservice by not talking about this. So we're going to do it. Now, I don't have a big community on YouTube. I don't have a gigantic community on Twitch. What you would call, I guess, a low-tiered content creator. However, I feel that I would completely be being neglectful of our community on Twitch and the ones that are on YouTube with not talking about something that I feel I have an issue with, and that I should shed some light on it, not throw shade at anybody, but more educate, give some advice, because there's this thing that is happening that I have noticed on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. I will title it generalized advice, but not given as such. Okay, so probably be something in the title of our stream as well. Generalized advice. So I'm going to give generalized advice to the people that are giving generalized advice, if that makes sense. Okay. There are many people that are giving very generalized advice, but not painting it that way, whether it be on Twitch, YouTube, or Twitter. Those are the main platforms we will talk about. Obviously, there's many others as well. Generalized advice itself is fine. That's good advice, when it's really generalized. But people are giving more specific advice as statements, as cold facts that are solid facts. Now, the first one we'll talk about is a lot more serious than the latter, and that is the mental health scape. Okay, so we're going to talk about that giant elephant in the room. Okay, give me a second. Many people give advice about mental health. Generally, that's okay. And it's good. You're trying to be supportive. You're not trying to be a bad person, and I believe most people that are talking about mental health and giving advice isn't trying to mislead people. But I feel that people are neglecting their responsibilities as a content creator. Whether you want to call yourself a YouTuber, if you want to call yourself a streamer, a content creator, whether you want to call yourself an influencer. Whatever it is you're doing, if you're creating content, you are inspiring people potentially, you are having people maybe live through you, maybe coming to you for advice and guidance, but you're giving them generalized information that may only work for you, but you're not wording it and expressing it in a way that is conducive to their mental health and their well-being, because you're speaking cold facts about things you don't know will work. They may work for you, but people are acting more like it's going to work for everybody because it worked for me, and that's just not the truth. People are either being neglectful or just really not thinking about what they're saying before they say it, because words matter. How you say words matter. I feel as a content creator, it is our responsibility to communicate, especially when it comes to mental health, um, efficiently, effectively, meaning what we say, um, being clear that we're not, the be all end all. We're not speaking in fact. We can only speak from our experiences. In no way does that give you the power to tell people, like, this is a fact, this is what you have to do, and do it. And a lot of these tweets, for instance, have stemmed with do's and don'ts. Do this, don't do that. Such as in streaming. Take breaks, take long breaks, take it for yourself, give yourself time, and, on the face of it, it sounds good, right? Okay, yeah, nothing wrong, take some time. Chill, just take your time, take some time off. But you're using do's in this scenario. Do this, not, in my experience, this works for me. Instead, you're telling them to do that, and it's improper wordplay there. I am not a wordsmith. I make mistakes. We all make mistakes. Nobody's perfect. But in the habit of keeping it 100, here's the situation with this. I myself suffer from depression. I myself do not take breaks because it is bad for me. So, people giving advice, because I know better and I'm strong enough to get through, not everybody is in that boat. You're telling these people and to take a break, do it because it will work. Because it worked for you. That's your experience with it. Your brain is not my brain. It is not the next person's brain or the next person's brain or the next person. Everybody has their own experiences. Everybody has their own brain. Nobody is alike. In this world, there is nobody that's alike. So while taking time for yourself might work for an individual, you're telling certain people to do this and you're acting like you're an authority on it. And unfortunately, there are people that may look up to you for advice and trust what you're saying, and they do it. Now, paint this scenario. Let's just say there is a person going through a really tough time, and they're at the very weak point. We've all been there, have mental health, where you're at your really weak point and you're clutching for survival. Maybe streaming is all they have, right? But they're trusting you because you're a streamer too. You're dealing with it too. And it worked for you, so they're going to do it. And it destroys them. Like myself, when I take time off, I get in my head and nothing good happens from that. So, paint the scenario that there's other people like me. And I know a few people that I'm friends with that is the exact situation. And then your advice destroys them, makes them worse. Are you ready to live with that responsibility? Or act like it wasn't your responsibility to have to begin with? You're not completely responsible for what a person doesn't do, but you're giving advice to a mental health situation. They may came to you for advice, or look at your tweets, or look at your videos for advice, and this is what you're giving them. Remember, you're using do's, or you say, don't do this. Don't stream when you're depressed. Why? Because it didn't work for you, right? It doesn't work for you. That doesn't mean it doesn't work for somebody else. And then you're trying to, once again, tell them what they should and shouldn't do, as it's based in fact, right? Because everybody, I guess, thinks they're a psychologist, or they think they know better. You know better, maybe, for you. Just for you. Because your situation is your situation. My situation is my situation. There are different ways to do it. You can be there for people and tell them that in your experiences, this is what I do, and this is what I don't do, and it helps me. Share your life experience with them, but don't tell them, this isn't going to work, don't do it, or this is going to work, don't do it. Your words have more power than you ever think that they might, especially when you put yourself in the content creator spectrum. And it is not a cool thing to do. Because if I was to listen to that advice, it would destroy me. So try to think about it in this way. Somebody comes to you, or if you want to give advice on a tweet or even on a video, whatever it may be, and to say, in my experience, breaks help me. By having time for myself, I have learned that for me, being able to recharge my batteries, get away from all the stress, helps me. It may not help you, but it helped me, because we're all different. Express yourself. Don't use do's and don't use don'ts. It's just not the way to go. You're not speaking in 100% truths, because it's not. It's a lie. Because it works for you, you think it's a truth, and then you're expressing it as that. But it's not. It's true for you. It doesn't mean it's true for me. Catch me? I'm not going to go too deep into this because that would be a very long conversation. If you guys do want me to go deeper into the mental health stuff, comment below in the video, or you can tweet it at me. I'm more than happy to make more videos in regards to that. It's ideal with mental health every day since I was a teenager. So I've been there. I'm there. So I want to be there for you. If you need anything, any guidance, I'm always available. Or just a shoulder. It's what our stream's all about. And let me talk about the lighter side, but still needs just as much attention. And as a streamer, I feel it is important. Because this is more of the do's and don'ts, but not in regards to mental health. It's in more of the streamer advice field. I have seen many streamers telling people what to do and what not to do. Some of them are successful streamers, some of them are up and coming streamers, and some of them are just complete newbies. And they're telling people these do's and don'ts. Once again, they're using, just like in the mental health space, cold facts that aren't there. This may work for you. It does not mean it's going to work for other streamers. I've even seen bigger streamers on YouTube do their videos, which are phenomenal, and they're amazing people for trying to help up-and-coming streamers, aspiring streamers. But they're not out of the gate letting people know that this is very generalized. Most people will get it, sure. And that's okay if that's the way you want to think about it. But you really need to think not everybody's going to understand that. And some of these people are just going to employ the advice. Maybe they're not, thinking it that way. That these people are experienced streamers. Some of them very successful. They're giving me advice that's going to work. But they're not realizing that it's in a generalized way that they're expressing their advice. Meaning what's working for even partnered streamers may not work for you. But I see so many people, and that's minus the bigger ones, giving these cold, hard fact advices over and over. And it's bad. It's bad to be doing that. Give generalized, but don't use do's and don'ts. Because you're speaking in facts, again, that aren't there. Because if they were there, a lot of times you would be a lot more successful at what you're doing in content creation than you maybe are. Like one of the things I most commonly see is people that will say, don't pay attention to your numbers. Turn your view counter off. Don't have it on is a lot of the wording that you see. don't have it on. That is truly bad advice. Because you're telling them not to. And that might work phenomenally for you. And if it does, that is awesome. But you're speaking it as you're telling them what to do in their stream like you're an authority on it. For me, I have had it off before to experiment. It spiked my anxiety. I have spoken with other streamers. It has spiked their anxiety having it off. Right there tells you that it is not a cold hard fact. It works for you. It may not work for me or the next guy or the next guy or the next guy. And then you piqued their anxiety by giving very bad advice because maybe they trusted you. I have seen it personally. I have seen people take advice from people that they shouldn't have just because they like them, they're friends with them, or they trust them for advice because they like their streams. You need to say, in my experience, for me, having the view count helps me, and explain why. Don't just say don't do it or do it. If you're going to go that route, explain with, in my experience, the view counter off helps me because I don't focus on the numbers and it makes me be able to more focus on the stream. You know? Or say don't do it because, in my experience, it gets in the way. All sorts of stuff, you could do as it being in your life, in your experience. This works for you. I can only give you advice based on me. This may not work for you. Don't tell them that you're speaking in facts when you're not. Okay? Another one about the numbers. The old don't pay attention to the numbers because the numbers don't matter. This is a truly bad advice. I can't even speak how bad that advice is. I get numbers are not everything. We're not going to go into this because this is not a Twitch video or a YouTube video in that realm. If you want one about that and my thoughts on it and my personal experiences with it, let me know in the comments. But what I will touch on this is the numbers are not everything. But they do matter. They are lessons. They are lessons in what you are doing right and what you are doing wrong. There is literally no reason to say they don't matter unless you're lying to yourself. They are not everything, but people lie. Numbers don't. They speak in cold, hard facts. So, when you say that they don't matter, it's either you're fooling yourself because that's what you need to believe, or you're really just, not thinking it through logically. I'm not the smartest guy. Never claimed to be. But, when you think about it, okay, you could put up tweets and polls. Is my stream bad? I've done it. People could say, yeah, it's a great stream or it's a bad stream. Doesn't mean they're right. People lie. People have their perspective. Doesn't mean they're wrong. Doesn't mean they're right. But what's not going to lie to you about your stream and your content is your numbers. Because the numbers will never lie to you. Okay? So, to know you're doing something wrong, the numbers will tell you. If you're doing something right, the numbers will tell you. They are not everything. So don't just, put them up on a pedestal. Like, yes, these numbers are awesome. These numbers matter more than anything. It can't get away with your content. Right? Do not say, listen, don't pay attention to numbers because they don't matter. I have seen it so many times. Say, in my experience, the reason I think the numbers don't matter, if you're going to give that advice, it is bad advice to begin with. I do not recommend it. But that is from my point of view and my experience with the numbers. I don't speak that in a cold hard fact. I believe it. I have done enough research to feel very confident in that assessment. But people are doing that too much. They're going, do this and don't do that. And they're trying to speak in cold hard facts. But logically, then especially the last statement, it's not true. It's just not. And there's just so many other, precedences for this, of don't do this in streaming, don't do that in streaming. But that's not the route to go. And a lot of people ask their community, oh, you think I'm okay for posting this stuff? A lot of them are going to say yes because they're yes people. A lot of people just will not want to hurt your feelings. They'll tell you what you want to hear. Maybe even sometimes what you need to hear. Right? But you have a responsibility if you're giving advice to other streamers to be, I guess, methodical in your thinking and not acting like you're a prophet that knows everything and tells them, don't do this because it's not good. Do this because this is what you need to do. That is awesome for you. That is great that for you, maybe you know what works. Maybe you know what doesn't work. That does not mean it's going to work for me. It doesn't mean it's not going to work for me. Or anybody else. You need to phrase your wording and mean what you say. You want to be real and you want to be helpful, but you don't want to act like you're the authority. Because you're not. Nobody is. Streaming is an ever-changing field. You do not know everything. You can give advice based on your experiences. Your experience does not dictate whether it's 100% true or 100% false. It is what you have learned through your experience and your point of view. But it is not a fact for another person. So, in my experience, should always kind of be your opening line when you're giving advice. Like, hey, streamers, here's some advice from my own experiences. Maybe this can help you. And don't act like you know it. Own it. Say, this may work for you, this may not work for you. I cannot tell you how many times I give advice in my streams. None of them start with the do's and don'ts. It's always in my experience, and I even tell you I'm not an authority on this. I am not an expert. I don't pretend to be. I feel as content creators, influencers, streamers, YouTubers, we owe it to the audience to understand, to give them the best advice possible, but not to present it in this light that we are prophets and that this is going to work or this isn't going to work. End of story. Because it's not. That is a wide open book. What works for you, great. Might not work for somebody else. That's like the big moral of this rant. I do apologize. This is long-winded. Much longer than I wanted it to be. But I felt it needed to be said. If you want me to expand on this further, let me know down in the comments. Let me know on Twitter. Same as my channels, Ozonics Gaming. I'll be more than happy to post more. Thank you for bearing with me. I hope the takeaway from this video is, if nothing else, to think more, deeply and carefully on the advice you give, because I think it's phenomenal that you guys are trying to help people. But just remember what you're saying and what you're meaning, because it matters more than you think it does. Thank you, and have a good night. Peace.